The Bible called Canaan, where the Israelites lived, the land of milk and honey. But this is only true for certain regions of Canaan. In fact, many of the places in Canaan were not exactly fertile at all. Life must have been difficult for the Israelites who had to raise sheep and grow crops in such infertile land. But the Bible shows us that even in such harsh environment, children of God see themselves overcome such difficulties and even come close to God and meet Him. Today's text talks about Moses, a figure who comes to our minds when we think about rough environment or the wilderness. Moses was bound to die as a baby when he was sent down the river Nile only 3 months after birth. But he's rescued by the princess of Egypt, who raises him like a prince. One day, this Moses sticks up for his fellow Israelite and gets into a fight with an Egyptian and ends up killing him. Filled with terror, Moses runs away. He runs away to wilderness, where it seemed like no one, even the army of the most powerful nation, would be able to find him. During his 40 years in the wilderness, Moses met God and said to him, "God, I'm not a good speaker." Moses completely erased his identity during his time in the wilderness. Everything that he had learned, all his eloquent speech and studies that he learned as the Prince of Egypt, had been forgotten in the wilderness. Moses had begun to believe that he was capable of nothing. But God called Moses and made him reborn again. Moses returned to Egypt, led the Israelites who had been living as slaves out of Egypt, and led them into wilderness. Moses was not incapable because God was with him. Water would spring up and food would be sent from above when Moses prayed. Manna fed the Israelites every day, and this is where Moses came to a moment of awakening. He realized that if God is with him, the land becomes as fertile as Egypt, and milk and honey flows like in Canaan, even in the barren lands of the wilderness. And precisely in this barren and empty land of wilderness, where it seemed impossible to nurture and grow any form of life at all, is where Moses and the Israelites learned to love each other and lead a holy life. In the text we read today, Moses gathered the Israelites and talked about God who had been with them for the 40 years they spent in wilderness. He tells them that although their time spent in the wilderness was tough and challenging, it was a time of true grace to those who remember his words. Today, in year 2020, it may still seem like we're wandering in the wilderness. But we must all remember that God, who was with Moses, is with us too, and that with his help, we can overcome this period of difficulty as we cross this time and age of wilderness.